Hello, everyone. It's Justin again. I am going to be talking about Mars again in this one specifically. I'm trying to remember where I left off with the other one several days ago. And I'm just going to get into it. How about that? I think my camera is right there, so I'll try to look over here, maybe. Not that it matters, but anyway, let's see. Sorry for the delay. I had a situation that presented itself to me here I had to take care of. It's taken care of, so I finally have some free time. And I believe where I left off in the last Mars video was where in chronological order, I left the music school. I was leaving the music school. I was on Mars, and the class was finally over. The details of the bus ride or so it took a very, very long time, but they're basically irrelevant, so I'm just going to leave those out. And because the whole good part, I want to get out in 30 minutes on this one. I want to finish this in 30 minutes, actually. I know I should write like a library of books about it, but I'm not, so... On the bus, we went not even a quarter mile from the school, and we headed east. And this is inside of Mars. Inside of Mars is just caverns. It's a whole world. Like this one is very, very similar to this one in a lot of ways. How you would think you would connect with that would make sense. That would be a reference point. It's a lot like this, and it reminded me of like somewhere in southern Kentucky. Okay, and it was like a one-lane road, and the bus wasn't like a bus like we have here. It was like a bus from Mars. Okay, it was very different. Okay, but just call it a bus. Make it real simple. So we're on the bus and we go, and we get stopped. There's a barricade of some type of police system, and these are the most normal humanoid-looking entities on Mars. Is the secondary police system. The first one, like I was saying, is dragons, and they're metal. They're metal. At least they're completely coated in metal. Sort of like armor. And that's the government of Mars, and they fly. They're sort of like snakes more than they're actually dragons, but they are very similar to snakes as well, and they're huge and they fly, and they're probably like upwards of 100 foot long. They're not little, and they understand what they are, and they're actually dragons, and they fly. They fly. How like a water snake would swim down through the water, they fly like that. That's the government of Mars. Not the full government, but the police. It is part of the government. That's the original terrestrial species of Mars is dragons, and they are armored. And I know them extremely. I know them too well. I know them better than I want to know them. Okay, so, whew. So our bus stops, and I'm not gonna get real technical about things. I'm just gonna speak, okay? So don't take me wrong. And if you were on a bus and it stops, like right off the school property, basically, and there's authorities, and they reminded me if you, I'm just gonna talk, and it's gonna sound so silly, but if you were like on a safari, and there's a type of police that looked like safari police. Um, that stopped your trip on a safari. Well, there's probably about 40 of them, and I'm going to call them pickup trucks, like safari pickup trucks that had a barricade. And it wasn't like normal pickup trucks like on Earth. They were what I would call a pickup truck or a van type of Mars like vehicle. But you gotta understand, these things don't even have wheels. Okay, like they don't look like the ones here at all. Like the principle of operation to these vehicles has nothing to do with ours, but I'm gonna call them pickup trucks, safari pickup trucks, and they're clear full of police. The police, and don't take me wrong, I'm just gonna speak. All the police reminded me a whole lot of the military here, but they were all they were very. You could tell they were parents. They were very caring. There was no issue with them. They were doing the right thing, whatever it was that they were doing, and we didn't know, and we sat there forever. And I was just minding my own business, sitting in the seat, looking around, observing the bus, and then I realized what was happening. And what happened was the bus got stopped because there was an incident. Okay, and the police came in these vehicles, and they just blocked us off, so we couldn't even get up to it. And the incident is what I want to talk about, because this is what the whole Mars thing is about, where all the energy is. And believe it or not, on the bus there was some type of window technology. I'll just say I looked out the window, and I was looking down a hill to my right hand side, and this is a very mountainous terrain. It was like the foothills of, like, like northern Tennessee feeling to me, and this is underneath of Mars's surface. Okay, and I thought it was fun. Like, I didn't think the buzz was going to be able to get the fuck out of there. I was just like, we're really in some terrain, guys. Like, this is way back in the backwoods of, like, Tennessee or Kentucky, looking like it. I was just enjoying the ride. Like, are we going to get out of here? Like, this is, I'd be impressed if we didn't. But anyway, I'm looking down, and there is, there's a pond, but the pond was big. It was a big pond, and coming out of the pond was a rocky, mountainous, like, earth effect coming out of the pond. About 50 yards into the pond, and in that rocky, mountainous terrain to my right hand side, I could tell that there was a cavern, there was a cave in that thing. I went, this is just I mean, Mars is just jaw-dropping gorgeous. Half the time when I'm there, I'm just like, this place is just like everywhere you look at, like, this is heaven. It reminds me of like a Kentucky, northern Tennessee heaven, but it's mountainous, sort of like Northern California in the most perfect spots, like in Humboldt County. It's like a mix of like northern Tennessee and Humboldt County, most places inside of Mars, except there's just I'll stop real quick. So, anyway, back to my story. Down on the right hand side, I seen the pond lit up like fucking a purplish pink lightning, and there was a specific group of people down there, and they're actually one of the trying to think of how to say this. They're one of the very few terrestrial Mars species. They're extremely humanoid. And I looked down there and seen the water light up, and when the water lit up, it drew my attention. The pond. And I seen the people there. And I'll describe them here shortly, because they are just, they're that just jaw-dropping gorgeous. Like, and I was like, okay. And I went up to the bus driver like you're in high school. I was like, and they're like, yeah, go. And see, on Mars, don't take me wrong, it's not an ego thing. I'm actually a super duper crazy weirdly big wig. A lot, many places, and this is, it's not an ego thing. I'm letting you know this is where, like, it'll make like, this makes sense, don't it? So they said go. Yeah, I was gonna go anyway. And I got out, and there's police there, and sorry, and I walked down the hill. I had to walk up in front of the bus a decent ways, and I walked down the hill, and it was like a beach lining the pond. It wasn't just like some nasty brush or anything like in Ohio where it's just like, it was like a beach. It went downhill to the water where this big mountainous cavern thing came from, and the water lit up. As soon as I put my feet down out of the bus, and it got really active, excuse me, as I was walking down the hill to it, and it wasn't far at all. You know what I mean? It was just right down the way, and I could see everyone. Some of them were in the water, and most of them were surrounding the water on the beach, and they were involved with something, and they were spread out, and I got, okay, I'm going to push pause for a minute, because this is everything that I want to tell you guys about the whole Mars series here is what I'm about to tell you. I'm going to take a minute and meditate real quick. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to push pause and you won't miss anything. I'll be right back. Sorry to do this. I want to be accurate with what I speak of. Okay, so forgive me for, I'm probably going to say a lot of this with my eyes closed just so I could recall accurately. Don't take me wrong. Don't, you know what I mean? Whew. So I begin to walk down the hill to the pond, and it became very active. And there was trees. There's trees there, guys. Just like you would think in Kentucky or Ohio, or in the mountains of Humboldt, California. It was very similar to that, but it wasn't dense. I could see everyone, and I went down the hill to this lake, and let me think here. There's 8 individuals, and this pond isn't big. Like, I could clearly see the details on it. There's 8 people, and like, we could see each other all the way, and they're gorgeous people. These people are so black. They are I mean, not like African American or something. Like, I mean, they're actually black, like the color black. Like, everything on them, they're, and mind you, don't take it wrong, it doesn't matter on Mars. They're very highly advanced. This is like how Sasquatch is an Earth terrestrial species. This is like the Sasquatch of Mars. They're humans, completely humanoid. They're humans. just like us, fingernails, eyelash, everything. Humans. But I mean the color black. And frankly, they're sort of they're built like I'm trying to think. Um the closest thing real quickly would be like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean just insanely muscular, and it's a family, and energetically I could tell it's a whole family. There's a family there. And half of them were in the water about waist deep, and the other half were up on the beach right next to the water. And I'm gonna two quick details. The one, as soon as I walked down, the one right in front, he had. I mean, like how I'm sorry if this comes out. African Americans have afros, like afro hair. They had it like that, sort of like me. Not really. I mean, they were black, like afro black. Okay, and the one dude just had um, like when people do dreadlocks here in on Earth, they're gross a lot of times. Like frankly, like they're sort of like fucked. These were the most symmetrical, perfect. Their dreadlocks were a precision symmetrical art. It was an energy. It was a tool. Not like here, how people are just like, I'm just not gonna comb my goddamn hair until it fucking is just like a big fucking ball of shit. And no. The first dude in front of me, he was just walking out of the water. And the first thing that happened, since I went down there, the family was down there, and some of them started coming out of the water because they seen I was there. Okay. And the police basically were up on the hill in front of the bus, and they were too scared to go down, and that's what the disturbance was. That's why those police were there. Okay. And it's okay. I'll explain this in a minute, like how the police on Mars are a good thing. If they are on our side in full. And by the school, the water was producing a lightning in the water, and they didn't want the bus to go by because there was something going on and it was fucking crazy, and they didn't want the bus to go by in case something would happen. So the police were doing their job. Okay, so I walked down this hill, and as soon as I get down there, I seen the people, and I was like, oh, my people, finally. Like, thank God I'm like out of this dumb school, and I'm in nature. I actually got, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is my shit right here. What I'm about to do is my shit. Like, this is what I'm here for, is, like, being beyond the police. I'm really like that there. I'm a shot caller on the moon and Mars. I'll talk about the moon some other series. You know what I'm talking about. But I start going down the hill. Half of them, roughly, a couple of them start coming out of the water. Okay, and some of them stay in it roughly waist deep. But the leaders of the whole thing were, when I went down, I was like in the center of the pond, in the center of the mountain coming out of the pond. It was probably like 30 yards into the pond, 40, 50 yards into the pond. The mountain thing came out of it, and it was just a rock. And there's a cavern that went inside of it. Okay. And when I was going down this hill to the pond, and it became very active as soon as I stepped out of the bus. But then as I got closer, every step I took, walking down that hill, the lightning did it. I work with lightning, I speak with the fire. That's what this shit is. I don't know if you guys ever see this. This means I speak. You know, I speak with the light. That's what I'll teach you guys about this in another video, how to do this correctly. I speak with the light. I I I speak. I'm with the light. I'm with the white light. Okay, so I am with I am I'm a white light holder, liquid white light. And I'm a liquid white light holder. That's a whole different video series, right? Anyway, let's keep going. So I get down there, and finally, the family that's down there, there's like 8 of them, I believe it was, and or roughly, you know what I mean? And it's a family. And the leaders, the parents, are obvious to me. And when I walked down there, they just was like, oh, thank God he's here. Like, thank God, like, you know. And the leaders are obviously to my very far right. They're sitting on the bed on they're sitting on the beach with their feet barely in the water, and there's a little bit of a drop off there, so they're just sitting there on the beach, and it's sort of like they found like the chair, and they're just sitting there, you know, about knee deep, like with their feet in the water. Those were obviously the parents. Those were the leaders of the family, the mother and the father. Okay. The first dude, when I went down there, his whole hair went in the one right there, one gorgeous dreadlock. I must say that's the most gorgeous dread system dreadlock I've ever seen. It was just one dreadlock coming off the back of this dude, and it was perfect in the weirdest kind of symmetrical energy way. Okay, and then the one to his right, he had 3, like 1, 2, 3 dreadlocks that came back, and they did a spiral out the back, just like the other dude that just had 1. But the one that had 3, his 3 dreadlocks were somehow energetic. They had like energy around each dreadlock to where they would not dreadlock together. But he had 3 dreadlocks that came back into one bundle. And these bundles are going down like to their knees in the back, but not like laying flat, like they're full of energy. Like, whoosh. And the dude had 3, and they spiraled out. And I was like, man, I love these people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are my people right here. And I just felt like the sigh of relief. There's a connection, like a deeper. When people talk about like, what was it, telecommunication? Okay, that's one of thousands of There's thousands of telecommunication senses. Not one, where you sort of think, you know, there's thousands of them. And there's things like telecommunication that are not telecommunication, where you could use those thousands of senses to communicate. So I walk down there and I just go, like, I'm here, God, and they were like, oh, thank God you're here. Like, we came here to hold this down until someone got here. And the police ain't helping anything. And the police were actually scared of that family. They didn't even want to get close. The police were actually staying back, like, we don't know what to do. And the family was down there in the water working with it. Think about that. Is this making sense? Like, the family was literally in the water. This family went to that water to work with this energy, this disturbance, this issue. And the police were called, and they wouldn't even go down the hill. And they were just like, we don't know what to do. The police and the family was in the water, but they didn't know what to do. I got off the bus and walked down the hill, and I did know what to do. And they all knew it when I got there, and they're just like, oh, thank God he's here. Because they didn't know what was happening in that water. They knew. I'll talk about, see, I'm at 24 minutes already. I'm gonna have to make another video to even talk about this, but the family that was down there were the ones in charge, like how the Sasquatch would be in charge of something like that on the Earth, and they would be. But then I would arrive, and the Sasquatch would be like, "Oh, thank God, we got like a fucking weirdo down here finally, that knows what he's doing." So when I go to work on Mars, I have roles like this. You know what I mean? I have really big roles, and I'm not trying to be too detailed. I'm trying to explain like this is what Mars is like for me. I swear to fucking God. I mean, I fucking swear to God, and I love it. I love it. But this is at 25 minutes. I'm gonna stop this one. Sorry, I didn't even say anything in that, but I got off a bus and there's people there. But in a half hour, shit, I'm gonna do better on this next one. I'm gonna try to finish it in the next one. I'll be right back.